Hi again, I'm Rob Kavanagh, and in this video I would like to speak a little more deeply about how I work, why I work this way, and the different approaches I use to help people reconnect with their own authentic light. Because here's the truth, there is no single switch to healing. What illuminates one person might not work for another. And at Bright Lights Life, I don't believe in forcing people into a model. I believe in meeting people where they are. My work is grounded in a very simple conviction. Mental health care must honour the full complexity of being human. That means integrating clinical knowledge, lived experience, cultural and spiritual awareness, and the healing power of community. I didn't arrive at this perspective theoretically. I arrived here through my lived experience, my life. I began my professional journey as an international corporate lawyer, working across Australia, the UK, and Europe. Alongside that career, I spent more than 25 years engaged in voluntary humanitarian and counselling work, often with people society had forgotten or marginalised. I worked with people living with HIV and AIDS at the end of their lives, asylum seekers and refugees, young people with intellectual disability, neurodivergence, behavioural and mental health challenges, people experiencing homelessness, parole, or severe mental illness, and employees broken down by toxic workplace cultures. The legal system could address rules, but it couldn't heal people. And so in 2017, I transitioned fully into the mental health field. My approach moves beyond narrow medical models, not in opposition to them, but in expansion of them. I work from the understanding that mind, body, emotions, relationships, culture, and spirit are inseparable. If one dimension is ignored, healing becomes partial. If all are honoured, transformation becomes possible. At Bright Lights Life, therapy isn't about fixing someone. It's about restoring balance, connection, agency, and hope. One of the most important things I've learned is this. People don't need to be changed. They need to be understood. That's why my work is eclectic and trauma-informed. I draw from multiple evidence-based modalities, not as rigid techniques, but as tools, each one offering a different way of accessing insight, safety, and growth. Now let me explain how these approaches help switch on different lights in different people. Psychodynamic therapy, understanding the roots. For some people, healing begins with understanding. Psychodynamic therapy explores early life experiences, unconscious patterns, and emotional imprints that still shape present-day reactions. This isn't about blame, it's about clarity. When people understand why they feel the way they do, shame softens and compassion can grow. For others, the central word is shame. Compassion-focused therapy helps people develop an inner voice that is kind, supportive, and steady, often for the very first time in their lives. When self-compassion is cultivated, trauma begins to loosen its grip. People stop attacking themselves and start caring for themselves. Strengths-based work and reclaiming agency. Some people have forgotten their strengths because life demanded survival. A strengths-based approach helps uncover what is already there. Resilience, creativity, empathy, courage, even if it's been buried for years. This is where confidence and self-efficacy are rebuilt, not artificially, but authentically. CBT and ACT, practical rules for living. Cognitive behavioural therapy and acceptance and commitment therapy offer practical, grounded tools. CBT helps people identify unhelpful thought behaviour cycles. ACT helps people develop flexibility, mindfulness, and values-based living. Together, they help people respond to distress with intention rather than fear. And narrative therapy, reclaiming the story. Narrative therapy sits at the heart of my work. So many people come to therapy believing they are the problem. Narrative therapy gently separates the person from the problem. And this is really important. Separates the person from the problem and invites them to re-author their life story with dignity, agency, and choice. This is often where light returns most powerfully. Music therapy and community healing. And then there is music. Hands out here, not here. Music therapy, grounded in neuroscience and psychology, offers a non-verbal pathway to healing, particularly for trauma where words often fall short. Music engages emotion, memory, regulation, and connection simultaneously. It reaches places where language cannot. Beyond the therapy room, I am deeply committed to community music. Choirs, brass bands, orchestras, and ensembles of all kinds. I've seen firsthand how making music together reduces isolation, builds belonging, restores dignity, and strengthens communities. Healing is not only individual, it is collective. At Bright Lights Life, there is no single path because there is no single kind of human being. My role is not to impose light, but to help people rediscover the light that already exists within them and to find the switch that works for them. Whether that switch is compassion, insight, story, community, meaning, or music, we will find it together. Because when people are supported holistically, they don't just recover. They reconnect, they grow, they shine. Thank you so much for being here and allowing me to walk beside you. And just so you know what is coming up over the coming weeks, I do go into the modalities that we use at Bright Lights Life, for example, compassion-focused therapy, which a lot of people are interested in, and narrative therapy. And we'll do a whole session on each one of those that you may be introduced to at Bright Lights Life. I'll call for questions and comments on that. Very happy to have an open discussion about those with you. But at the same time, I'm very excited to present those modalities to you in case it might be something that can really work for you. Thank you very much.